Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in Fantasy Life right here. You already know the deal on a Thursday morning. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us right here. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam, Ronis with you for the next couple of hours, getting you ready for drafts. Talking with Andrew Siciliano today. Adam, he's out in Denver Broncos training camp. And Suarez is a Mariner. I mean, I don't know a more perfect start to the day. How you doing? How's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing well. You got that news late last night. Wasn't
Oh, I was
sure if you were
pumped.
awake at that
Okay, I
time,
was
but you
okay, I
were
was
because
awake.
it happened about a
Isn't that
little after
9?
midnight Eastern, I believe.
Yeah, 9:30 maybe.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's good for
yeah,
you.
my
And then
time.
my Mets go out and get two relievers.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so
Are
it
they
was a
done?
no, they better not be.
Okay, I
Still
hope
could
not.
use. I mean, they could use a starting pitcher, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But maybe a
Mm,
center fielder. So we'll
there you
see.
go.
Trade deadline day in MLB and football tonight. So really
And
good
we've
day.
got football back. I mean, what more could we ask for today? Are you betting on the Hall of Fame game?
I
Are
will
we
not. No, I'm not going to do
come
that.
on.
No.
We need your expertise. No, it's a really great day. Like I said, not only for the Mariners, but for everyone listening, because we do get to talk with Andrew Siciliano here at the top of hour two. So we're going to talk with him about the Denver Broncos, everything going on there. And you went to a movie last night. Like, look at us, touching grass, getting outside. It's
Why?
amazing.
Did you go anywhere
No,
yesterday?
no,
No.
no. We don't have to go there.
Okay,
No,
figured
but
that.
you did. You did for the both of us. It's totally fine. Everything's good. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us today. FantasyLife.com, as always, want to throw that out there because if you haven't checked out and if you love best ball, our new best ball tool is absolutely amazing. Shouldn't say new, upgraded best ball tool is great. So you can go to the best ball HQ, you can upload everything from Underdog, and you can, check out. That's where I always say, let me look at my exposure, let me see how many guys I have. That's where I'm looking at. So besides, the best ball tool, we've got everything else. We've got rankings updated every single day. We've got the projections, ADP, the draft champion tool, everything that you need to win and dominate your leagues. FantasyLife.com. Use that code SXM20, gets you 20% off any Fantasy Life Plus Tier 1 or Tier 2 subscription. We've got a little bit of news, right? Noah Fant to the Bengals. Does that, Noah Fant, new home. So he was released from the Seattle Seahawks, something that I think we all saw coming a little bit just because of the money that they could save there. I think it was around $9 million. But according to multiple reports, looks like Noah Fant is expected to sign with the Cincinnati Bengals. Haven't seen Adam any terms of the deal or anything like that disclosed yet. But he was with the Broncos first. Again, he was in that trade with Russell Wilson going to the Seattle Seahawks. And then, like I said, they released Fant earlier this month. He visited with the Bengals, the Saints, the Dolphins, and eventually chose Cincinnati. So you join a tight end room that, the ones that we care about really is Mike Gesicki here. And again, not necessarily your tight end one that you're walking away with in drafts usually. Usually your second tight end here. But does this move the needle for you at all? You drafting less Mike Gesicki, more Noah Fant, vice versa?
Yeah, it doesn't move it much. The one thing is the Bengals do tend to use a lot of two tight end formations. We know that they're going to pass a lot, but we saw it with Gesicki last year too. Remember, they just signed him too, 3-year deal for $6 million. We did see Gesicki with 83 targets, 65 catches, which isn't bad, but just only 2 touchdowns for him, and
Yeah.
both came in one game. So, uh, yeah, I think more for tight end premium formats, you're looking at it, but you were hoping that Fant would go to a better spot where he would see more targets.
Yeah, I was thinking with the news, well, because we got news yesterday that Juwan Johnson went down with a groin injury. They eventually said that it's nothing serious, but I thought that might push them to take Noah Fant over there. Not that it would, make too much of a difference in my opinion with drafting Noah Fant. But like you said, tight end premium. The Dolphins, wouldn't that have been funny though? They go out and and they say, actually, you know what? We don't need you, Jonnu Smith. We're gonna go a different direction, and we're also going to add Noah Fant. That would have actually made me laugh.
Yeah, it would have made sense.
It would have. But alas, here we are. And we'll see what happens here. But Mike Gesicki, like you said, I haven't, tight end premiums always interesting when we go look at our rankings and everything like that. We've got the tight end tiers as well at fantasylife.com that you can go and check them out. But yeah, Cincinnati, like you said, they didn't really do much to help this defense. So we're just expecting them to continue to have to, score points. Joe Burrow will be out there for most of the games. They still are going up against a pretty tough schedule in 2025. So it'll be good to see.
Yeah, it's just another weapon for Burrow. That helps.
Yeah,
We know Fant has
good.
some ability. They don't really have much depth at wide receivers, so Bengals still, though, not doing much on the defensive side.
Hey, that's okay for us though.
Oh,
I
for
mean,
fantasy, we
for
love it.
fantasy, we love it. They're gonna go out there, but real life. Sorry, Bengals fans, they're gonna have to go through the 30 plus points in a game and still losing those games. That was the craziest thing. Did you ever finish quarterback?
Oh,
That was just the
yeah, I
worst
did.
part
I did
watching
finish
it.
it.
It's
Yeah.
just you felt so bad. You're just like, man, he put up. I mean, he really did. Joe Burrow last season put up MVP like numbers, but because of their losing and never being able to walk away with those wins, it was just tough. Felt bad for him.
Yeah, and getting off to that slow start every year, losing
Every
those games
year.
early in the season puts them in a hole, and then there they are sitting on the last day of the season, hoping for other teams to lose, and you never want to be in that position. But they did it to themselves, and yeah, they just cannot stop anyone.
I think did I read that they're going to play Joe Burrow or he wants to play more in the preseason to like create a new normal, which I don't, we talk about this back and forth. We've got a game tonight, which, there's not a lot for us to take away in the Hall of Fame game where we can talk about it a little bit, but it's more, if rookies stand out, rookies trying to find a place, everything else like that. But, Joe Burrow wanting to play more in the preseason kind of makes sense because of, like you said, the history of this team and just not getting out to good starts. And you think in the moment, in the first 3 weeks, you're like, oh, okay, 0-1, 0-2, but it really does. We saw it the last season. It really does affect you down the stretch when you're trying to make a playoff push. And it's the 1-2 games that you missed at the beginning of the year that really keep you out of it. So I wouldn't mind, I don't know. I bet it would help. I think I saw a quote, or I can look at a quote from Joe Burrow saying, just getting into a new normal, a new rhythm a little bit earlier. That would help anyone.
Yeah, they did say Burrow will play more this preseason,
Nice.
which means you'll have to hold your breath anytime he's on the field because, again, you just don't want to see an injury in a preseason game. But I guess the Bengals realize that these slow starts are a major problem for them, and it cost them a playoff spot last year.
Yep.
I know week one we see crazy things and teams that aren't expected to be good can win, but you can't lose to the Patriots week one last year. That just not only for survivor pools, it was a bad thing, but it essentially cost the Bengals a playoff spot.
Yeah, Survivor leagues, you probably stay away from the Bengals the first 3 weeks. So they have the Browns
See,
on the road. They
but it's
have the Jaguars at home and the Vikings on the road first three.
yeah. Well, the next two, week two and three, are tough. Week one,
Hmm.
you would think maybe, but the problem is it's a divisional game, which you don't like to do early in the season, and it's on the road,
And
and
on
you
the road.
ideally don't want to take someone on the road in week one, and then the Bengals' history, because you look at that, you go, are they really going to lose to the Browns, especially since we don't even know who will be starting at quarterback for them. Um, but they are currently favored in that game by 5.5, and we talked about it last week. I think there's a lot of tight totals in week
Hmm.
one. There's a lot
Yeah,
of three or
the week
less.
one schedule is nice.
Yeah, so I think you will see some people pick the Bengals for survivor pools and just ignore the history, but it shouldn't be your first choice.
I don't think I'm gonna take the bait. I don't think I can do it. But there are some good. I mean, you get Cowboys Eagles to start things off. Your Dallas Cowboys Chiefs Chargers is gonna be a good game. There's a lot of good games on this slate.
Yeah, I mean
It'll be
Ravens
fun.
Bills on the Sunday
Texans
night.
Rams.
Even
Yeah,
the
Ravens
Vikings
Bills.
Bears on Monday is a good one. Yeah, Lions
Hopefully.
Packers. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good
we're
slate.
good. Oh,
Even Panthers Jags is interesting. Seeing
hmm.
Bryce Young and see if he can follow up on that strong finish to the season in Jacksonville with the new coaching staff and Travis Hunter. So yeah, it's an intriguing week. Steelers Jets, Aaron
49ers.
Rodgers revenge game.
49ers Seahawks. Oh, the revenge game. Yes, I forgot about that. We'll have to break that one down. We'll have to do a whole segment just on that one game. Because of course the people want to know what we think about Steelers Jets. That will be a good game, though. I mean, just for anyone who drafted Justin Fields, some of those games, I just know we're going to come back on a Monday, an overreaction Monday, and be like, hope you didn't watch Justin Fields, because I feel like sometimes it won't be pretty, but he'll get you fantasy points, and that's all that we care about. So it's going to be
Yeah,
great.
Fields is
So
probably one of
close.
those guys, if you have him in fantasy, you don't want
Don't
to
watch.
watch too much because he'll drive you crazy. And then you can just go look at the highlights or see the box score and be like, oh, okay, yeah. I remember watching the first drive. He looked horrendous. And then, oh, he finished with 24 fantasy points. Cool.
Exactly. That's what we all want. That's what we all want. There is, I mean, we're so close. I'm so excited. Yeah, it's August tomorrow. We are in draft officially, like it's officially draft season. Like we said, we've got the Hall of Fame game tonight. So if you want to make sure, you got to go check it out. We just love football. Any kind of football we're going to watch. I don't, like I said, Adam, there's not, we're not really going to break this game down because there's not much to watch out for. I think on the Lions side, right, they are looking at their new offensive coordinators. You had Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson go to, different coaching roles. It's the Jets, it's the Chicago Bears. So you've got a first-time defensive coordinator with Kelvin Shepard, and then their offensive coordinator, John Morton. We've looked at quotes and everything. They've been received well by the team. Of course, they're going to say that, but I think, that's going to be the first time that we're seeing them. And then the only other thing for the Lions really is that there is a QB2 battle going on. So of course Jared Goff is the guy over there, but they're looking through Kyle Allen, and then Hendon Hooker. They're splitting time with, but that's really the only. We're not going to walk away and break this game down much tomorrow, unless there's a standout, right? Sometimes we see some standouts and we say, okay, maybe we should keep an eye on them, but not much to look for here.
Yeah, I do think, though, the Chargers are playing a lot of their rookies, including Omari and
Mm,
Hampton.
yeah. That's why I said we'll watch out for them. I think Trey Harris as well. Like
Yeah.
there's guys we can watch out. The rookies more especially. Lions side not so much. I think Isaac Tesla is one. But that's really, I think, the only other guy that I saw that might get some meaningful time tonight. Amari and Hampton out there, that'll be good.
Yeah, and Trey Lance for the Chargers.
Hey, Trey Lance. I miss Trey Lance, don't you?
Yeah,
What could have been with Trey Lance?
well, it also gives you an opportunity to bet against them if you want interceptions.
Stop. What are you doing? Don't do Trey Lance like that. He's just out here trying to make it. Oh, Trey Lance was fun. You know how many teams I drafted early with Trey Lance a few years ago?
That did not work out well for you.
Yeah, no,
Anyway.
it wasn't great. Thank goodness it was best ball. So we don't have to really talk about it. All right, so that's the game tonight again. Looking for the rookies. Maybe if you're looking on the other side for the Lions, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. Look through. The last thing that I wanted to bring up here in the top of the hour is not necessarily news, but I always like when we get good quotes from guys at training camp here, and we've been talking about some of the top running backs that you can take, and Michael Penix did come out. He's feeding us with the good quotes here, Adam. So he said that Bijan Robinson will be a big factor in the pass game. So not that anyone needed us to tell you that in the first round, if you're looking and get the first couple of picks, that Bijan Robinson is obviously one that's been going up there. But yeah, he finished last season with 365 touches, which I believe was second behind Saquon Barkley. But Michael Penix is now saying, he's going to be catching more passes, which is everything that we love to hear. Here we go.
Yeah, it's expected. I don't think this is a surprise. We saw it last year, but it's just the reassurance in Robinson's going pretty much 2 or 3 off the board. So you need an early pick to get him. A lot of people do have him over Saquon Barkley, and we saw last year, 61 receptions on 72 targets. He actually had 86 targets as a rookie. So that's the reason why you see him go so early. Heavily involved in the passing game, great on the ground, 15 total touchdowns last year. So we're expecting another big season from Robinson.
Should we be looking more closely at Michael Penix? Like, we had the small sample size last season, and it's not necessarily, we're not talking about Michael Penix right now in one quarterback leagues, because there are a good amount of guys that you can get ahead of him. But, the super flex leagues where, I sent you a screenshot last night. I waited a little bit too long for my suit. I was testing the waters and it didn't work out. Well, it kind of worked out. I came away with 2 at Tagovailoa, but, in super flex leagues, when you're looking around and saying, hey, I want, better receivers in this range, I think I can wait a little bit longer. What do you think about Michael Penix Jr. in Superflex?
He would be not a target, but he would be in that scenario where I waited too long, because to me, he's not top 20. And, I do mention that in Superflex, I like to wait a little bit on my second quarterback, but you also have to read the draft room. And I think for you, were you picking near the end of the
Hmm.
round?
Yeah.
You were, what, pick 10?
No, other side. I was 5.
5. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I mean, you're more in the middle there. It's a little bit easier, but you do have to kind of see what's going on. If everyone is jumping really quick, then you might have to go a little bit higher than you want. Because the times that I've waited till like the 19th, 20th quarterback, you see that there's a lull. Like it goes a lot of quarterbacks early, slows down, then it picks up again, and then it stops.
Yep.
And that's when I'll wait for that second quarterback. But you do run into scenarios where people will grab their third a little bit too early. And yes, it can be very frustrating, but you have to know that possibility exists. But yeah, Penix for me, like he'd be like 22,
Third
23.
more third quarterback
I
than
mean, no,
second.
he would probably be a second
Okay.
for sure, but not the ideal target for me. It would be like the fallback. It's like, oh, okay, a lot of the guys that I wanted are gone. All right, I guess he's gonna have to be my number 2. And especially if you're able to get one of the elite quarterbacks and then pair him, then it can work.
Yeah, that was me last night. Sent you a screenshot. I was, in drafts with sharp people, and I thought to myself, "Oh, everyone has their second quarterback. So right now, I can take RJ Harvey, and I'll be totally fine with it in the what was that, the 6th round, I believe. Yeah, what happened, Adam? I wasn't totally fine, and that's what happens. That's what we say. Look ahead to other league mates and see what some of their boards look like. And yeah, I just thought that everyone had their second quarterback, so they weren't going to come around with their third. Wrong. But I got Tua
Yeah,
Tagovailoa out of it, so I'm okay. But it could have been worse. It's pretty bad though.
yeah. So
I
you'll
love
need number
Tua.
one, you'll need Tua to stay healthy and
Yep.
be better at least, and try
Just be
and
good.
throw the deep ball a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm not happy about it.
Yeah,
Let's
you'll
just
need
say
the
that.
season from 2 years ago and not last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna need a lot. I'll come back around. I know that people in my league listen to us, so I won't say the other quarterbacks that I could be targeting here because I don't want to put the target on my back. But there are some other guys late that I'll make sure to come back around with just in case things don't work out over there with Tua Tagovailoa with his health. But hoping he does. Again, all our tools at fantasylife.com, the ADP tool that we've been talking about is there and live. Use that code SXM20, gets you 20% off any Fantasy Life Plus subscription, tier 1 or tier 2. We're going to continue on here, Adam. We're going to go through ADP battles. I know we've talked about some of our favorite sleepers, our favorite late round targets, but let's go up against some of the better running backs that you can get in the first 2 or 3 rounds. We're going to go through them coming up next. Talking ADP battles here, Adam. Going through some of the running backs that I want to talk through. The top running backs that are going in the first couple of rounds. Pin them against each other, Adam, and see who we would rather have here. So I know we've talked a lot about Kenneth Walker and our expectations for him going into the season. I also want to talk a little bit more about Chuba Hubbard and his expectations too. So between Chuba Hubbard, Kenneth Walker, I went and looked, and I've taken more Kenneth Walker. And that's not necessarily to say it's because I do and am a fan of the Seattle Seahawks, but both of those guys going in the 5th round on Underdog. Again, it's going to be very different across some of these other platforms like ESPN, Sleeper, Yahoo, CBS. We've got that ADP tool that is live, so you can go and check that out. But between the two of them, who do you have more of right now? Who do you expect to have more exposure to at the end?
Kenneth Walker, and it's pretty easy
It's
here
not
for
close for
me.
you.
Yeah. Look, we know he has a lot of ability. Injuries have been a big problem for him throughout his career. He got off to a really good start last year, missed some time, but with Kubiak coming in here to run the offense, the running backs excel in his system. The offensive line, we need to get better for Seattle. We know Walker is
Oh
great
yeah.
at breaking tackles, but he's in a good spot here. And he's going to be the main back. Charbonnet is going to be the backup. I don't think he's going to cut into him. So for me, it's Kenneth Walker. And a lot of times you can get him in the 4th round, sometimes the 5th, but generally the 4th. And he's definitely someone that I'm looking at. I know others get scared off because of the injury concern. A lot of people will look and be like, oh, yeah, he's just hurt every year. It's always a problem, the offensive line. But I think he could have a breakout season if everything breaks right. Last year he missed 5 games, missed 2 the other 2 previous years.
Yep.
And I don't think we've seen the best of him yet either.
I don't think so either. And I think we're going to see and the big difference for me is and I'm on the same page as you. I still draft Chuba Hubbard just because I do sometimes if Kenneth Walker is off the board in that range, he's kind of that next guy that I'm looking at and saying, okay, if I need a running back here, it's Chuba Hubbard because then you get into the, Alvin Kamara's, James Conner's, Travion Henderson's. So I'm still drafting Chuba Hubbard, but if I had a choice, it would be Kenneth Walker. And I understand like when you look at Kenneth Walker's injury history, it can scare some people. And I think that's obviously played a role when you look at just the dip in fantasy finishes each season. You will go from RB18, RB20, RB25. But I'm excited for more specifically Clint Kubiak in this offense and to see how he is going to use Kenneth Walker, especially through the air. Kenneth Walker catching more passes in the year 2025 is going to happen. And we've kind of seen a little bit of an uptick, but not nearly, I think, enough that we can get behind it for fantasy football. So when you look at that and you look at the Seattle Seahawks, like you said, they tried to, and hopefully they did bolster that offensive line a little bit, going out and getting Gray Zabel with their first round pick. I'm excited to, see him more in the passing game and just see him more with that featured role because that's how those Clint Kubiak offenses have gone every single time.
Yeah, we started to see the improvement in the pass game for Walker last season, a career high 53 targets and 46 receptions, again, in only 12 games. So he was on pace to catch more than 60 passes. And, he was averaging 18.1 touches last season, and he had 7 touchdowns in the first 5 games. And that was despite playing behind a poor offensive line. So if that can just improve a little bit, and the scheme that we love for running backs, Walker is in a good spot this year.
Yeah, the first 2 seasons in Seattle, like you said, he wasn't featured much in the passing game. 2024, we saw him get the career high 53 targets, and we should hopefully expect that to continue over there for Kenneth Walker. Again, so are you? You're not off Chuba Hubbard, are you? Are you not drafting him? Is he? We talked about him a lot last season. It was a lot more obvious why because Jonathan Brooks just was not healthy. I know a lot of people wanted to hope that he was going to be able to come back, and some people spent a good pick on him. But he did, Chuba Hubbard did go out there, obviously had a great season, got paid for it, which we talked about, Adam. We said, I don't know if they knew that he was going to be that good, and that's why they kind of locked him down and made sure that he was going to be there for a little bit of the long run. But, when you look at this team, also, if you're comparing Kenneth Walker to Chuba Hubbard, you like the Seattle Seahawks offense a little bit more. But is he still on your radar or not necessarily?
No, he is, and I do think the
All right.
Panthers' offense is going to be better as well. So, especially if you buy into what you saw from Bryce Young down the stretch last season, bringing in Tet McMillan as well certainly helps. And Hubbard was really good last year, 4.8 yards per carry, 8th in yards after contact per attempt. So, yeah, he was good. I just like Walker better.
Yeah, same here. Chuba Hubbard now is with Rico Dowdle. Your guy, Rico Dowdle, Trevor Etienne, Raheem Blackshear in the backfield there. So again, Jonathan Brooks went down with another injury that we saw, so he is not going to be back for this season. That's just brutal. I hate when that happens. We've seen that sometimes with these like Tank Dells and Jonathan Brooks. That's the worst. So hopefully he's back sooner rather than later next season.
Yeah, well,
It's not.
I don't know. It's
I know, it's not
definitely a
looking
terrible
good.
start to the career.
Breece Hall, James Cook. Expectations for, and everyone knows we've talked a lot about James Cook here and maybe potential regression that's coming. Breece Hall actually goes in the 3rd round of drafts on Underdog. James Cook is going more towards the middle of the 4th round. Again, that's Underdog ADP. When we're looking elsewhere, it's going to be different. But between the two, if James Cook is the one that you would get a little bit of a discount on. Who would you go with if you had to battle it out between them?
Right now, I lean Hall. You're hearing a lot of talk, though, at a Jets camp about Braylon Allen.
You are.
He could be, this could be more like the David Montgomery role for him. So a lot of people look at Hall, they're thinking, all right, he's going to get massive volume. Now, the Jets are going to run the ball a lot. They might be the most run-heavy team in the NFL. We know that, and Fields obviously will play a factor in that as well. With James Cook, it just comes down to the usage. Like, I think Cook is a phenomenal back. I just wish he had more touches in this offense. I was also seeing something that even during training camp, he's not getting a lot of passing down work. Now, you don't want to read too much into that, right? they're trying different things in training camp, but we saw it in games last year. Down the stretch, I mean, Cook was just not on the field a lot. On third down, it was a lot of Ty Johnson, Ray Davis. So that is the biggest problem for Cook. He's great. He's a really good running back, but just not enough volume there. 207 carries last year, just 32 receptions. So that's the biggest problem. And then we've mentioned the touchdowns, where 16 rushing touchdowns last year. He had 4 combined in his first 2 seasons. So it's nothing against Cook when people are talking about, the potential regression in touchdowns, but the volume is not what you expect either. So maybe it changes. Maybe they surprise us, but are there any indications that it will change? Because I'm not seeing it.
I mean, and for Breece Hall, we had, I remember us talking about this on one of the Sunday shows where they came out and Aaron Glenn did say more of a 1A, 1B, 1C situation. So they did say that earlier, and I think I definitely didn't want to believe it because I'm just like, oh, Breece Hall, this could be the comeback season, because he was the clear lead option out of the backfield in basically all situations last season. But even Pete wrote in the newsletter today, you guys can find that at fantasylife.com. He was saying it is clear as day who the lead back is, right? And it's like, yes, it is. But when you're looking at the reports, like you said, Adam, where there's reporters saying the running back room might be more of a 1A, 1B than a 1-2, that's where we have to get nervous. So we have to, Braylon Allen has also been someone that we've talked about as a handcuff, because he's going in the 15th round. I mean, you're getting him very cheap, and he's always been one that we've mentioned, but it's more been a mention of just in case Breece Hall goes down. Now, Adam, we might have to change our tune, and we're trying not to overreact. That's what we try not to do in training camp. But when you do start to get these reports and you see it on the field, Adam, like there's other things besides the reports. You can actually see it in some of their highlights over there. We have to be a little bit careful. And so Braylon Allen might not be someone that we're now talking about as an elite handcuff. He could be someone that has, standalone fantasy value by the end of training camp, which is crazy.
Yeah, we did hear these reports about Allen last year too in camp, and it didn't pan out, but they are saying that he's been one of the stars so far, that he looks bigger and faster, and that they're going to find ways to get him the ball. They did say Hall will be used as a receiver more than they have in the past, which is good in PPR formats. But, yeah, we're hearing a lot of positive things about Braylon Allen out of Jets training camp.
Hey, I mean, he's cheap right now, though. So now that just keep an eye on him. Because like I said, we're pretty cautious with overreacting to training camp news. We don't want to, totally say we're fading Breece Hall, because that's not the case. But, Hall's utilization, when we look at it, took a dip after the bye last year, went from an 89 before week 12, 68 after. And then, like I said, these coaches were talking about this potential committee back in March. So here's the quote from Aaron Glenn. I think mentally he's in a good place, talking about Breece Hall, but I would say that we have 3 running backs on this team that we're going to utilize as much as possible.
But that was from months ago, right?
Yeah, that was March.
Yeah,
that was
okay.
March. Yeah. But still, just breadcrumbs, trying to follow. I've got a good amount of Breece Hall. But
yeah, I would take Breece Hall like in the 3rd round, like if I start 2 receivers and like he's the top back, but there definitely is a little bit more concern seeing some of these reports.
So now would you go Cook in that situation? Wait around?
I would probably still go Breece. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, something we're going to have to definitely watch out for. We're going to continue talking through some of these ADP battles, but I want to make sure we're going through some ESPN fantasy football strategy. Got some messages over the last couple of days talking about strategy talk, the difference between some of the Yahoo platforms, ESPN, Underdog. So we've got fallers and risers in ESPN fantasy football ADP. We're going to go through that and some tips and tricks if you are drafting over on ESPN. We're going to do that coming up next. Fantasy football is live. Happy Thursday, everyone. Appreciate you hanging out with Kendall Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you for the next couple of hours at KValenzuela17, at Adam Ronis over there on X. If you've got any questions and just can't seem to get through, can't call in right now, 888-963-2682, then you can send your questions over there, and we are definitely going to try to get to as many as we can. I see people on the phone lines now, Adam. Should we go?
Let's do it.
Let's answer some questions. It is draft season, so we are here to help you with any fantasy questions that you have. Adam is here to help you with any life questions, life advice, movie advice now. He is here for you as well. So
I'll leave that to you from the movies.
You're fine. You've seen more movies than me the last couple of months.
Well,
It's
you haven't been
crazy.
going out much.
I know. Okay. All right. Now this is getting mean. We're gonna go. We're going to the phone lines. Let's go to Noah in Indiana. Noah, what do you got for us?
Hey, I was wanting to know you guys' take on Isaiah Pacheco. Obviously, Kareem Hunt is the handcuff there, but he really did well whenever he was playing. But after the injury, that ball just kind of went to Hunt. With the issues with the wide receivers in Kansas City right now and Kelsey on the downhill slope being a little bit older, what are you guys thinking on Isaiah Pacheco for this year?
Yeah, it's a good question. Appreciate you calling in here, Noah. So, just to give a little bit of ADP background, he's going pick 75 over on Underdog. ESPN, it's going around the same range. ESPN pick 88, Sleeper pick 62, Yahoo pick 65. Adam. So I mean, listen, he was not the explosive guy when he came back, and that's because he was coming back from the broken fibula. So they wanted him to return. They obviously needed him to return, but he turned one of his 83 carries into a gain of 15 plus yards, which was the third lowest rate in the NFL. It wasn't great, but it also, what did we expect coming back from that injury? What are your expectations with him this season?
Yeah, I'd expect him to bounce back. He came back way too early from the injury, and you can't take anything away from what you saw last year with him. He just wasn't the same player. Kareem Hunt didn't do much. He was just grinded it out. He wasn't explosive. So the way they went after this backfield this season shows me that they believe in Pacheco bouncing back. They still have Kareem Hunt there. They brought in Elijah Mitchell. He always has dealt with injuries. They drafted Rashid Smith in the 7th round. He might be involved a little bit, but I would expect Pacheco to be solid. He's not
Yeah.
someone I'm targeting, but if you need a running back in the range where he's available, I don't mind taking him. You might be able to get him as a RB3. And I think he's a guy, if we even see him at all in training camp, that you would want to keep an eye on to see if there's any burst back compared to what we saw last year. I know Andy Reid has spoken highly of him in the offseason, but they always do on every single player. Did say
Of
he looked like
course.
he was in better shape and everything, but yeah, look, Pacheco got off to a good start last year before that injury. I know it was only a handful of games, but he was in line to get a big workload, and he did, I think, have a game of like 23 touches and 17 to start the year. So they were ready to hand the backfield over to him.
18 and 24 combined carries and
Yeah.
targets, 80% and 66% snap rates during the first two games of the season. So I think it comes down to, I understand, what the Isaiah Pacheco you saw at the end of last season, though, Adam, in my opinion, is not the Isaiah Pacheco we're going to see at the beginning. He's going to be more healthy coming into the season, whether they say he's in the best shape of his life or whatever. Isaiah Pacheco, the potential for him to have that near every down role on a team that is still projected, when we look at, Vegas, everything else, projected to be one of the league's highest scoring offenses. Running back production is obviously very correlated to their team scoring offense. So I'm still looking at Isaiah Pacheco as someone, if he's in that range and I need a running back, I'm not looking at him and saying, he didn't produce towards the end of last season and fading him necessarily. I haven't taken much of him, but that's just because of the way I've been building some teams, but I'm still open to it. So he should be good, or at least
Yeah, it
better.
comes down to your build. You might be in a position in the area where he is being drafted where you're looking at other positions and maybe you don't need a running back. So it really comes down to your build.
Yeah, exactly. Appreciate you calling in there, Noah. Again, the phone line's 888-963-2682, the phone number to call in, or you can press that new call in button on the Sirius XM app, a fun new tool and feature. Let's talk through, like I said, we teased going through ESPN ADPs and, big differences and things that we want to talk about here. And I think the biggest difference that I've seen, Adam, if you're drafting on ESPN this season, and we'll go through risers and fallers, but some of these, well, especially these quarterbacks go early on ESPN drafts. So you're going to see Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen go in the second round. We can talk about wide receivers and stuff like that being pushed down a little bit. Jaden Daniels goes in the third round here. So Patrick Mahomes goes in the fourth round. You see quarterbacks fly off the board here. Not necessarily the same push on wide receivers as in Underdog and other platforms, but that was the biggest thing that I've seen. Like you've got Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow going by the third round. All of them are gone.
Yeah, way earlier than most leagues. And that's why it's important to look at whatever platform you play on. And people do get influenced by what's in front of them. It's crazy to think. You would think like, oh, I have my draft plan. I don't care what the ADP is in front of me. But people get influenced by it. They're like, oh, the top of the queue, and he's been sitting here. I got to take him. How can I pass on him? So it does have an influence on the way people draft, and it shouldn't for you if you truly believe that you want to wait on quarterback. Don't worry about it. Just let all those teams take those quarterbacks. It means that running backs and receivers getting pushed down to you. So as long as you have a plan on what quarterbacks you like in the middle to late rounds, it shouldn't deter you from doing what you wanted to do going in.
Couple of fallers looking through just our ESPN ADP. Of course, Quinshon Judkins, he's fallen 48 spots right now, Adam, and I see that trend continuing. So a couple surprising ones, though, or maybe not surprising, but just talking through them. Tony Pollard is a faller. Zach Charbonnet has fallen 20 spots in ESPN drafts. And we've talked about, the importance of getting handcuff running backs, guys that we never want injuries, but Kenneth Walker has showed us injuries in the past, basically his whole career. So getting someone like Zach Charbonnet, I've got a lot of exposure to Charbonnet just because, we never want the worst to happen. But if it does, he'd step up into a big role with that Clint Kubiak offense that we just talked about here. So, yeah, Zach Charbonnet's a faller. Najee Harris, of course, Joe Mixon. But, yeah, Tony Pollard, Zach Charbonnet were the ones that surprised me the most.
Pollard, I'm guessing, is because they're starting to see that maybe it's more of a timeshare with Tajay Spears, or Spears gets more involved. With Charbonnet, I don't understand it because it's not like the price was high anyway.
No, he's going pick one. Average pick is 143 now.
But I guess there's also, it's becoming clear for some people that, okay, it's maybe he was being drafted in the hopes that it was more of a split backfield, or Charbonnet would be more involved. And the indication is that it's going to be mostly Kenneth Walker. So that's probably why. Look, when Charbonnet last year got the opportunity when Walker was out, he had some massive games. I had him on several teams, so I was happy when Charbonnet got that opportunity because it allowed me to plug him into my lineup, and he came through with some massive games. But the way it's shaping up, he is definitely going to need Walker to miss some time to be relevant. So at this point, he is just a handcuff, someone that you have on your bench. So I'm guessing people are seeing that, and maybe that's why he's dropping. But again, that price of like 143.6 is just still something that you would draft at that point.
I would at that point I would definitely draft him. And the other risers that we've seen over on ESPN are more quarterbacks than anything else, Adam, but there's still, it's still good to talk about because like I said, if you're in a draft room and you're drafting on ESPN and you see 5 quarterbacks fly off the board in the first 3 rounds, it's going to don't fall for it, but you might be influenced, right? You might look around and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm a bit behind." And we've all been through that and we've all done that, but there are still obviously good quarterbacks that you can wait on. And while, your league is maybe going for quarterbacks, it's obviously a great time, Adam, to look around and say, okay, what receivers are they passing up on? What running backs could I scoop up right now? And it's almost, zigging when they're zagging and saying, okay, if they're going that route, I don't necessarily want to follow them because that you can get a Dak Prescott, you can get a later round Drake May, Trevor Lawrence. So scooping up some value there that they're passing up on to get their quarterbacks is important. But Dak Prescott's up 20 spots in drafts on ESPN right now. So pick, last time I checked, 115. Jared Goff is the same thing, 17 spots for him. So a couple quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield as well. Baker Mayfield's expensive, of course, but he's up 11 spots. So he's going to pick 64. But like I said, quarterbacks, when you're drafting in maybe ESPN or wherever you are, it's important. If you don't necessarily want to follow that trend and go get your quarterback that early, you can always scoop up some value of guys that they're passing up on.
Yeah, Dak Prescott, not surprised he's rising. He was probably a little too low to begin with, and then people realize, George Pickens is there, and they have Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb, and they really don't have this strong running game. So, yeah, they are going to pass a lot, and we've seen Dak Prescott the last few years when he's healthy put up some big numbers. So I think he was going too low to begin with. I don't understand the Baker Mayfield rise. He was already very expensive on the platform.
They're just even more excited.
Well, why? Tristan Wirfs you have the Chris Godwin news. So not saying he's going to be bad, but why would he be rising?
Yeah, I'm unsure on that one. I think we've seen Dak Prescott rise in drafts because it's all your teams. I think you're just going out
No, it
there.
has nothing to
You're
do
messing
with
with the
it.
ADPs. You're saying I'm going to take Dak Prescott every time, second round. So of course he's
Oh,
going
I
to move
guess
up.
because I have him ranked 5th at quarterback. That's why.
Do you?
No, I don't.
Oh
Stop.
my gosh. I was like, wait, we need to dissect this for the whole next segment if you do. But no, it's just that's why it's always so important though. Make sure you're looking through, and we say this all the time, but we're going to continue saying, especially because it is draft season right now. August is tomorrow. So make sure you're looking through these ADPs, either on fantasylife.com with our ADP tool. We can see it through the grid. That's the way that I like to do it, just to make sure that you're familiar with it, because you never want to go into a draft unprepared, Adam, especially with, any draft. You don't want to go into unprepared. So we've got ESPN, Sleeper, Yahoo, CBS, Underdog, even Guillotine, RT Sports. Everything is over there, fantasylife.com, to go and check that out. Make sure you're using that code SXM20. Gets you 20% off any Fantasy Life Plus subscription. Going to continue on here, Adam, with some of our favorite last round picks. A couple of tight ends I want to talk to you about. We're going to do that coming up next. Kendall Valenzuela here. Adam Ronis with you on this Thursday morning, mid-afternoon. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us here. Make sure you're calling in 888-963-2682, or you can press that new call-in button on the Sirius XM app. We're going to make sure to get to as many phone calls as we can going into the water cooler. Coming into this, Adam, maybe some favorite, I shouldn't say last round, later round picks, guys that are getting a little bit of hype in camp too. I want to talk to you about two tight ends, two rookies, actually, Elijah Arroyo and Mason Taylor. So Elijah Arroyo, we've talked about here before. Again, you're not walking away with Elijah Arroyo as your first and only tight end. But there has been reports coming out of camp that I've seen that he is thriving as a pass catcher early in training camp. But I think we do still have to be a little bit cautious about AJ Barner over there, because his blocking is probably going to make him the favorite to replace. Again, Noah Fant is no longer on the team, signed with the Cincinnati Bengals this morning. But I still like taking Arroyo, just late round dart throw if I need another tight end. If you want to look at a tight end with potential, I think in a lot of redraft formats, he'll probably end up just being on waivers. But, with this Clint Kubiak system that we've talked about in this offense, Arroyo really could earn a role as a top tight end for this team. We'll just have to wait and see. But AJ Barner still feels like he is the tight end one overall.
Yeah, I think Arroyo's the guy, though. Eventually, he's 6'5", 254. He dealt with a lot of injuries in college, but there's an opportunity for him here in Seattle. And like you said, in leagues with 16 rounds, he's not going to get drafted. But if you play in 18 to 20 rounds or tight end premium, definitely worth taking a shot on late, putting on your bench and seeing what the role is early in the season. And, he might wind up being a cut if you don't see much or it takes some time. But especially if you miss out on the elite tight ends and you're trying to figure it out and trying to get two, I think he's definitely in that conversation to put at the end of your bench and see if he gets an opportunity there. It's not like Seattle has a lot of pieces in that passing game.
Okay, we didn't have to. I do agree with you.
Yeah,
I know.
truth.
Cooper Kupp. Come on, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is there, Adam.
I mean,
what are you doing?
He'll have 2 or 3 big games. We see
Yeah,
it
but
every
Barner.
year.
Stop. Barner and Arroyo, though, they do have big opportunities coming in with offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak there. Obviously, he's expected to shift the team towards the more heavy packages, multiple tight ends, fullback, whatever it's going to look like. So I do like the call out with Elijah Arroyo. Mason Taylor, he's been getting he's a little bit of a training camp hype here, and we know that the bloodlines run through the NFL. When we're looking at him though, and our expectations with Garrett Wilson, obviously as Justin Fields he's going to be the wide receiver one on this team. Do you think there's room for Mason Taylor to outperform his ADP at all, or are you not really buying it that Justin Fields, he's already not this, he's not really this prolific passer, so how could he give us good outings for fantasy football with Garrett Wilson and Mason Taylor at the same time?
Yeah, that's probably the main issue right now. Again, this is a team that doesn't have much depth at receiver, so there could be an opportunity, but again, it's a run-heavy team, and we've seen with Fields, if Wilson's not open, he's going to take off and run. So it's a little bit, I definitely feel way better about Arroyo making an impact than Taylor this year.
It's just this Jets team is going to, and I wanna believe, like, you know us, and talking about rookies, and sometimes, we want to believe that Mason Taylor could be this guy that steps up. But with the role and just the expectations overall of this Jets offense projected to be so run heavy, the passing volume I don't think could be there for Mason Taylor. Although, if Justin Fields does turn it around and shocks everyone, then I guess it's a different conversation. But it just feels like they're just going to be so run focused that it's going to be hard, with Garrett Wilson getting all of the looks for anyone else to come away with anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think he could be a guy that we're just keeping on the waiver wire radar and see what the role is at the beginning of the season, but tough to draft.
All right, Elijah Arroyo, go get it. Seahawks legend, allegedly, per me, per me. We'll start there. All right, we're going to go to the water cooler now, go through all the news and notes, and we're talking with Andrew Siciliano. He is at Broncos training camp. Make sure you go to fantasylife.com, subscribe to that newsletter, use that code SXM20, gets you 20% off any tier 1, tier 2 subscription. We're heading to the water cooler next. We have a special water cooler here today because joining us right now is Andrew Siciliano from NFL Radio. Andrew will be hosting from Denver Broncos camp today at 3 Eastern with Ed McCaffrey. So make sure you guys are all listening on NFL Radio Channel 88 and on the Sirius XM app by searching Training Camp Tour. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today. How you doing?
Of course. Good morning, guys. Happy football. It's game day. Let's go.
We're back. The vibes are great, Andrew. And like I said, you're at Denver Broncos training camp. We don't usually get any boots on the ground coverage. So when we do, I have to ask you, first of all, the atmosphere around this team for the 2025 season. I have to imagine that the morale is pretty high coming off a season. They went to the playoffs. They have a good young quarterback. They just paid their top receiver. From what you've seen from the team and the organization, does it feel like they've hit a turning point going into this year?
So full disclosure, I just got here late last night, and I just got on the premises about 5 minutes ago. However, in these 5 minutes, I would say yeah. And talking to people around the league, I would say yes. It's amazing how a quarterback can put a smile on your face and make your life a little bit easier every day, every morning when you wake up. The Broncos found their guy, and they paid Courtland Sutton, as you said. And they put some extra weapons around Bo Nix in the offseason, R.J. Harvey most notably, who's going to be a home run hitter, they hope, that this offense lacked out of the backfield a year ago. And they're ready to go. Look, they made the playoffs last year. They went to Buffalo. That's a horrible draw, but they made the playoffs. Bo Nix made a play in that first quarter where you're like, all right, maybe we got a game. Obviously, they didn't. Bills won. We know the rest of the story there. But it's a very, very, very good division, but they think that they have a very good team, especially on defense. They led the league in sacks last year. They had, I think, 6 different guys on that defense with a career year in sacks. I mean, that is unheard of. They're ready to go.
Yeah, Bo Nix had that good rookie year with 29 touchdown passes, also could run a little bit. We see sometimes quarterbacks struggle in their second season. What does Bo Nix have to do to improve and avoid that sophomore slump?
So I think a couple of things. Number one, they like to get a more consistent run game. It's not as if they couldn't run the ball last year. They ran for over 1,400 yards. They had like 4-something a pop collectively from their backfield. But like I mentioned with R.J. Harvey, they want a little more explosiveness in that backfield. That's why they drafted him out of UCF. Also, if you go back and you look at the second half of the season when they put Marvin Mims, the wide receiver, in the backfield, it kind of opened things up a lot. It's not as if he's going to be a lead dog back. He's not. He's still a wide receiver. But motioning him, getting a mismatch on a linebacker, we saw that against the Browns on Monday night in that shootout with Jameis Winston. It just opens things up for the offense. I also think they want to see him with a little more consistency down the field. He did have some memorable deep balls last year, mentioned in the playoffs against the Bills, the one against the Browns, 2 Mims, the one certainly against the Bengals, late in the fourth quarter. That wild shot is, I remember where I was for that one. I jumped up out of my seat at dinner watching that game on a Saturday night. But I think the consistency down the field and then just growth, it's all, you think you have everything figured out as a rookie and then you don't. But Bo has spoken openly so far this camp about how much more comfortable he is. And he's an older quarterback. He's 25. Well, like last year, you're not even sure where you're going for rehab. And am I on this bus or am I on that bus? And what do I have to wear on the plane? Things like that. He knows all that stuff now. And I think that level of comfort this team has seen throughout the offseason program.
Again, talking with Andrew Siciliano from NFL Radio. Make sure you stick around. He will be hosting from Denver Broncos camp today at 3 Eastern with Ed McCaffrey. So, Andrew, I kind of want to know, we talk fantasy football here, and the people need to know what the backfield's going to look like. How do you envision this running back split? Because everyone was excited. They took R.J. Harvey. They also went out and got J.K. Dobbins. So do you think true 1A, 1B situation, or eventually will R.J. Harvey kind of emerge?
Oh, wow. Wouldn't we love to know, huh? Wouldn't we love to know? J.K. Dobbins is still your bruiser. I think J.K. Dobbins showed last year he still got it. I don't know if he's going to be a 15-carry-a-game guy. I also wouldn't forget Audric Estime either. In his second year, he could be that goal line back, certainly. It's really those three in the backfield. And then there's Marvin Mims. Again, Marvin Mims is not going to get 10 carries, but he's that fun little toy for Sean Payton to deal with or to play with. I think they're going to be a little bit more in 12 personnel with Evan Engram here as well. So that changes things, but the backfield split is still very much a work in progress. And as we saw in New Orleans, it might change week by week. So I know that's not the answer most people want to hear. It's probably a maddening answer, but I would still say that, there are 334 games to go. So let's wait and see.
Speaking of Marvin Mims, he was barely involved in the offense for most of the year. Down the stretch, we saw him more. He still didn't play a large amount of snaps, but he did have 2 100-yard games in the last 6 and showed some big playability. How much of an increased role does he have in the offense this year?
I think the second half of the season is something they're going to build on, and they unlock something with that offense, using him the way they did the second half of the year, and I would expect to see that continue. So, look, he's 22 and in his third year. The guy's so young, and his speed is wow. Between him and Harvey, the speed on this team that they have added in the last 16 months is notable.
And talking about additions here, Andrew, we do need to know Evan Engram, right? The talk of fantasy football, because for Sean Payton, you look and you say, all right, well, it didn't work out with Greg Dulcich. We see, a potential joker role involved in 2025. I mean, could he be one of those fantasy league winners for us this season? Please say yes.
He could, but Evan has also said here during training camp that he doesn't want to be known as the guy that once he trots onto the field, the defense says, oh, we know we're going to throw. We know they're going to throw, right? They're not going to run. So he's taken a lot of pride in his blocking. Now, how that affects Sean Payton's play calling, I can't tell you, but they are going to be in 12 personnel, 1 back, 2 tight ends, a heck of a lot more. Evan Engram is going to have a pretty high snap count.
Do you see anyone else emerging a receiver from Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, Devon Vele, any of those guys maybe step up and play a bigger role?
Well, they loved Vele last year, and they like him this year as well. Pat Bryant's a guy that's fascinating to me. I was on the call last year for his game, Illinois' game at Rutgers, where he had that walk-off touchdown on 4th down where they took the field goal team off the field. He has a knack for big moments. So Pat Bryant is the guy to me that may not light up the stat sheet, but it's probably going to get in the end zone a little bit more than you would expect. Now, does that mean you play him in fantasy? If he has 3 catches for 19 yards and a touchdown, probably not. But he has a clutch gene that you really can't teach. And I think he could be a red zone threat as well. He's a bigger body guy. But they loved Vele last year, and I, especially, with Tim Patrick on here as well, I think Vele is going to be part of this offense.
All right, Andrew, last one before we let you go here. Just got to know, are the Broncos ready to slug it out with the league's best? We saw that they're in a tough division. They're right in the middle in terms of strength of schedule. They've got 9 games against playoff teams from the 2024 season. Are they ready? Are they ready to continue making that push?
Yeah, I think they are. I think you got to start with the division first because this team historically has been, the last decade awful in the AFC West. Now, a huge part of that is the Chiefs. They couldn't beat the Chiefs. They beat them Week 18 last year without Patrick Mahomes. That's a win. Obviously, it counted in the grand scheme of things, but this team needs to beat its division. And they have not done that. Like only the Jets, the Giants, like the Bears, like have something like that, worse division records the last decade. But they open with 3 out of 4 against teams that did not make the playoffs a year ago, so they can get off to a good start. Because the back end of the schedule is not as easy. They close with 3 out of 4 against teams that made the playoffs. So I think the key to them is get off to a good start, get to London, win a division game there, and then try to be in a good position down the stretch.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, we appreciate you so much for joining us here, and hopefully we get to talk to you again this season.
You got it, guys. Enjoy the game tonight.
All right, there he goes, Andrew Siciliano from NFL Radio. Again, Andrew will be hosting from Denver Broncos camp today at 3 Eastern with Ed McCaffrey, so you can listen on NFL Radio, Channel 88, and on the Sirius XM app by searching Training Camp Tour. You just wanted to talk about Marvin Mims the whole time, Adam. You just said, hey.
No, but I made sure to get a question in there. I want to see
your guy, Marvin Mims.
Yeah, I want to see what his role is going to be. I'm hoping it's expanded, but they did bring in, some other pieces here. Evan Ingram obviously going to be a bigger part of the offense. And, he mentioned Pat Bryant as well that they drafted. So you would hope, seeing what they did with Mims down the stretch last year, that they expand the role, or maybe they just feel that's the best way to utilize him is to mix him in here and there, which would be tough for fantasy because if the snap count is not there, because once you start saying, well, Mims is on the field, we're getting him the ball, teams are going to know that. They're going to be prepared, so I think he is one of the biggest questions on this offense is, what's his see, it's easier to take in best ball because I know we say that a lot, but it's true with certain guys, especially a guy like Mims, because on a week-to-week basis, if we don't see that role change or the snap count increase, you're going to just be hesitant putting him in your lineup. Whereas in best ball, you're like, all right, well, I know I'm going to get like 4 or 5 big weeks where he just has a 64-yard touchdown reception. And as Andrew mentioned, they were getting him the ball a little bit on the ground as well. So they are an interesting team, though. The division is tough. He mentioned the start to the schedule, open up Tennessee at home, at Indianapolis. Like, those are 2 games you have to get. And then they go at the Chargers for a divisional game, home to the Bengals on a Monday night at Philly. So, and then they play the New York teams back to back. So they get 2 extra bye weeks.
Little break there. Stop.
But Broncos are definitely, Broncos are an interesting team. And the defense too. Very good.
That defense is going to be, it feels like, amazing again. And it was great talking with, again, Andrew Siciliano. He's going to be out. He is out at Broncos training camp. So a lot of, just still feels like a lot of questions with this team in terms of like draft, Cortland Sutton. We just talked about Marvin Mims. I know a lot of people, myself included, I like taking Pat Bryant late, but again, that's best ball. When you're taking him in redraft, it's going to be hard sometimes, in the middle of the season, maybe, to know when to be able to start him. And then that backfield, RJ Harvey, I'm taking him at the discount because he has dropped a little with J.K. Dobbins signing there. Hearing Audric Estime in there when he says, well, don't forget about Audric Estime, I'm just like, we don't want 3 guys for fantasy purposes. If it works for Denver in real life, obviously that's different. But hearing 3 names in that backfield, you're like, I just hope that RJ Harvey feels like the typical, Peyton pick, where it just feels like he could catch passes back there, but maybe it's a little bit more mixed to start the season.
It could be to start. I think Harvey is the guy that we want long term, although you can't dismiss Dobbins. I don't think Dobbins is that far behind, but Harvey, more explosive, more involved in the passing game, and I think that's what you want to see, and there's been praise for him so far, so I would still take him. I'm just glad, though, that the price has decreased. If Dobbins if he wasn't brought into this team, you would have seen the helium on Harvey. Like, he would have gone way higher.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's tempered the expectations a little bit, which is good if you want to get RJ Harvey. I mean, he's still a little pricey, but I'm willing to take him. And I think the addition of Dobbins has definitely created a little bit of a dip on RJ Harvey.
Is RJ Harvey your I know he's not your favorite because we're still talking Omari and Hampton. We're still
Yeah.
talking Travion Henderson, but put Omari and Hampton aside, as he's still one of your favorite, rookie running backs to go and get. I know we have a lot of depth, but a lot of that depth, we heard, hey, this running back class coming into the NFL draft this season, like they were so deep, and so you're going to get some of these later round guys. But between, I'm looking at Kaleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, like I said, I'm going to throw Omari and Hampton out of this conversation because obviously Omari and Hampton is the guy that you want to go and get, and same with Ashton Jeanty. Has it been RJ Harvey for you out of all the other kind of not mid tier but later, middle of the draft round guys?
I'd say Travion Henderson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same here. Just because it's Ramondre over there, and not that we don't like Ramondre Stevenson, but I have taken a little bit more Travion Henderson than RJ Harvey, and Kaleb Johnson probably the least out of all. If we're talking about all three of them, probably the least amount.
Yeah, of that group for sure, and they're all gonna go like in the top 24 of running backs. All those rookies. So, but yeah, it's definitely an exciting class, and I could see too Harvey moving up a little bit if these reports continue. I think Peyton said the other day that he's been exceptional, so we know how that goes. But
hey, I love that.
But Dobbins, again, was solid last year. You always worry about the health, but when he was on the field, I mean, it was really a strong start, a little bit of a slow finish, but considering the injuries that he came off of and with the way this team really needed the running game, it's definitely an upgrade adding those two.
RJ Harvey going pick 61 on Underdog, pretty close around all other platforms too. Sleeper 58, Yahoo pick 65, CBS pick 59, and then the cheapest on ESPN. I'll take RJ Harvey at pick 90 every single time.
What? That's ESPN 90?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Come on.
Maybe you should change. Maybe we
switch to ESPN here.
Just make a change a couple days before the draft goes and say, actually, we're drafting on ESPN 90. I'll take them every single time. That is a nice, cheap price. But again, that was fun talking with Andrew Siciliano here. Let's go out to the phone lines and make sure we're getting our own phone calls here. I know that it is draft season, so we want to be here to help. 888-963-2682 is the phone number to call in. Let's go over to Jeff in Syracuse. Jeff, what do you got for us?
Hi. So I had a question about my Dynasty League. I took over a pretty rough roster. Really, the only guys that I can count on are Lamar Jackson, Bijan, and Hawkinson. I also have Diggs, Ayuk, and Flowers, but I have the 6th and 11th pick in the first round. So I was kind of leaning towards Harvey, hoping Henderson would fall maybe, but I don't really know if I should be trying to shop Lamar and Bijan, if I should be trying to shop that 11th pick. So I just kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Yeah, appreciate you calling in, Jeff. It's always tough, Adam, when we've been there and we know people that have taken over, a team that's I don't think that's rough though. Lamar Jackson, Bijan, you've got Hawk over there, Diggs, Ayuk, Flowers, but Harvey or Henderson falling to you. Is there any way that you would look at this for Jeff, Adam, and do it differently?
Yeah, no, I would probably I would be exploring trades again that we don't have the entire roster. It is Dynasty, so there's a lot more that goes into it. You would need a lot more context, but I would probably just take the 2 best players in the draft and then start to shop. Maybe a team that is ready to win is more willing to take on a guy like Brandon Ayuk. But the problem right now is you're trading him at a low point. You're probably not gonna get much back from him at this point. So you maybe want to wait. He comes back, has a big game, and then shop him. Zay Flowers, I've talked about. I think he's just overvalued in fantasy. That's a guy that I might move now. He was dealing, was it a leg injury?
He's got something yesterday, but I heard that it's I was reading that
everything is
serious.
not serious. All these guys get hurt. It's not hurt until so yeah, maybe that's a guy that I might look to shop because he kind of has that name value. Just seeing on like his ADP and where people take him, it seems like he has more name value and better in real life than fantasy. So, yeah, look, it's a challenge when you take over these bad teams. And, yeah, you just got to put in some work, explore the trade market, get those draft books. And, look, this is a good draft. You might get 2 really good players at the 6 and 11, and all of a sudden your team doesn't look as bad if those guys pop.
I agree. Zay Flowers, you're gonna love this. Zay Flowers has a minor undisclosed injury, Adam. So
Love the undisclosed injuries.
don't even know
They
they
just
said
we
that.
can
They
just
don't
guess,
even know.
and then you could have like the Twitter doctors put out like 75 different injuries of what it could be. So
Jeff,
it's
I
fun.
do agree. I do agree. I'm ignoring you. I do agree with Adam though. With Brandon Ayuk, it's probably not the best time because we don't know if he's going to miss those. If he's going to start the year on PUP, if he's going to miss the first 4 games. With Zay Flowers, though, some people that's name recognition, Adam, and some people say, well, this is the wide receiver 1 on a Ravens team that I really like. So between those two, maybe those are the ones that we look at. Same with Hawkinson, though. I mean, if you're okay with moving on from Hawkinson, that's someone that's also way more expensive, Adam. We talked about him a couple days ago. He's way more expensive than I expected him to be going into this year, but he's going to have hopefully a fully healthy season coming off. He came back last season coming off his injury. So that's another one I would look at, but appreciate you calling in, Jeff, and everyone else as well. We're going to try and continue going through your phone calls. The phone number to call in, 888-963-2682 to call in. We're going to continue on finishing up our conversation about wide receiver 2s that we should probably be talking a little bit more about. We'll get to your phone calls as well coming up next. Oh, yeah. We've got you covered. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you right here. Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. FantasyLife.com has you covered as always with those new tools and upgrades over there to the website. So make sure you're going to go check that out. Sign up for that newsletter while you're there, free and in your inbox 7 days a week. With code SXM20, you can also get 20% off any Fantasy Life Tier 1 or Tier 2 subscription. So take advantage of that. Adam, we're talking through, we talked wide receiver 2s yesterday. Wanted to finish out the conversation with maybe some others, and then you said you don't like any of these names. So should we skip it? You don't like DeVonta Smith?
Oh, so we're going that far down. Like I thought
What?
we were a little higher.
Yeah.
But
What do you mean? What are you talking about? DeVonta Smith.
He's fine. I mean, like I said,
just say you hate him. It's
no,
fine.
no, I don't. I think the Eagles are definitely going to pass more. You have to be careful when you look at a lot of things from the Eagles last year. It's the same thing we discussed with A.J. Brown as well. They just didn't attempt a lot of passes. Now, I'm not saying they're going to become this pass-heavy team, but they were in control of so many games, and they had the dominance of Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. They just didn't need to pass the ball much, and it hurt guys like A.J. Brown and Smith. I think it's going to be more competitive this year. We know that second year after the Super Bowl, it's tough. You've played the extra games. Teams are gunning at you, and the schedule is much tougher. They had a nice schedule last year. Took advantage of it. So, yeah, both those guys, we've seen them put up good fantasy numbers because one of the things that we love about Philadelphia, it's concentrated, right? They're not spreading the ball around. It's going to be Brown. It's going to be Smith. Yes, Goddard will get his, but he really needs one of those guys to be out to really go off. So, yeah, Smith is someone that I expect to be better than he was last year.
Yeah, I like him in the range that he's going. I took him a lot last season, wide receiver. He's going right now, wide receiver 28 off the board over on Underdog. And the other thing with Smith is that we don't want injuries, but he averages around 30 more yards per game per PFF when one of A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert are out of the lineup, which again, don't want that to happen. But if it does, you know that he gives you that upside. So he just feels like a player in this range that he is consistent, and I think the consistency sometimes is overlooked, and people just see other names in this range and they say, I don't want DeVonta Smith. Give me Travis Hunter is in this range. Cortland Sutton, I could see Rome Odunze is there as well, but and our guy Calvin Ridley. But I do like DeVonta Smith in the 5th round if you're looking for one of those guys. Again, a wide receiver too, but that's okay.
Yeah, he missed some time last year too. He missed 4 games.
Is that a concussion? One of them or no?
I forgot what it was.
I'll look it up.
But he has at least 7 touchdowns in 3 straight years. He was coming off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, and he would have gotten there if he played the full season. He had 833 in 13 games. So, yeah, he's very solid. He's not going to be a difference maker. He's not going to be a league winner. But if you're getting him as your wide receiver 3, very solid.
Yeah, I agree there. What about, let me throw you one more and then we're going to go out to the phone line. So if you are on hold, we definitely see you. Jaylen Waddle, wide receiver 2 in his own offense. What do you think about him?
See, you're burned because he hurt you last year. I think this is a bounce back for Waddle.
Okay. Oh.
And one of the things I don't like seeing a lot of positive reports on Waddle out of training camp. If you like players, you don't want to see this because people will drive up the price. I don't know how much he can rise up the board, but Jonnu Smith is gone. I mean, he really hurt Waddle last year with that 20% target share. He's gone. There's no tight end to replace him. No disrespect to Darren Waller.
Yeah, come on.
But we did see Waddle, top 22 in PPR formats in points per game, 3 times before last year. And a lot of things went wrong. But they are saying Waddle looks faster, quicker, if Tyreek Hill misses time. So, yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to buy him at a cheaper price.
Yeah, I'm not totally, I was burned, but I try to have, you got to have short-term memory here and reevaluate what's happened in the offseason. And that's why it's so important to just kind of, some guys burn you. Kyle Pitts, looking at you for everyone. No, I'm not going back. That's for the people. That's for everyone. Like, I'm doing that for everyone. We're not going to do it. But, for Jaylen Waddle, it is something where you have to look at the overall offense. And like you said, Jonnu Smith is gone. And that's a huge part of this. Our ceiling floor projections for Jaylen Waddle is really nice. The floor is 11.2, which is wide receiver 4, in points per game. Median projection is 14.3 fantasy points per game, and then the ceiling is 19.4 fantasy points per game, which is obviously wide receiver 1. But he's produced a wide receiver 2 season in 3 of 4 years when you look at it. So, like, I'm not necessarily fading Waddle because of did it hurt last season? Yes. Was it awful? Yes. At many points did I just say, all right, the bench, there goes Jaylen Waddle to the bench. Yeah, it wasn't fun, but last season was a letdown. But when you lose someone, or when you have that many vacated targets with Jonnu Smith's absence, with Jonnu Smith leaving this team, you have to reevaluate. And I do think Jaylen Waddle could be someone that could step up. You going into year 5, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think you can often get him to, if you go with a wide receiver heavy build, you can get him as your 4, right? If you go with a running back and 3 receivers in the first 4 rounds, you can get him as your wide receiver 4.
Yeah, I agree. So I like that one. Again, talking about, just wide receiver 2s that we're looking at, saying, hey, what are the expectations here? Again, fantasylife.com to go and check out that ADP tool that we are always using here during the show. Let's continue on, Adam, and go back out to the phone lines here. 888-963-2682. We know it's draft season, so we are here to help any way we can. Let's go out to Alex in Florida. Alex, what do you got for us?
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's hot down here in Florida. But, hey, so I have a couple questions. So I run a double hero RB draft, and I was just wondering if you guys could touch base on a couple people like Pickens, DeVonta Adams, and there was one more. I can't really remember. But, yeah, if you could just touch base on those 2 guys.
Yeah. So this is starting, I appreciate you calling in, Alex. But this is starting running back here, Adam, which, we've talked about before, and we'll continue going through more and more strategies. But starting running back in the first round, running back in the second round, you're looking at your third, obviously, to start getting those wide receivers. We can start with George Pickens. Actually, he's been going in the 4th round of drafts, so you could even maybe get, we'll start with DeVonta Adams, actually. He's going in the 3rd round usually, so he's the more expensive pick here. What are expectations between Adams and do you like either of these 2 guys? I know you do.
Yeah, I do. Look, with Adams, we already know that he's coming into a great situation here where, again, another offense where it's concentrated. We know where the ball is going. It's going to go to Puka. It's going to go to DeVonta Adams and then Kyrie Williams out of the backfield. And Adams, down the stretch, showed that he is not done. Usually, receivers at this age, 32 going on 33. His birthday is Christmas Eve.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Turning 33.
You looked that up.
No, I know. He's my boy, DeVonta Adams. We got a similar name, so I got to know these things. But down the stretch, he was really good. The only concern is Matthew Stafford and this back injury, right? So it doesn't seem like it's serious yet, but he's an older quarterback, and it could be, well, it's training camp. We don't need him. Let's be cautious. But Adams is definitely in a good spot, and he's not like this huge receiver. He has the ability to get open. He's savvy, good route runner. And also, that team in the red zone, he could get a lot of those looks. We've seen Puka Nacua just not score a lot of touchdowns. And George Pickens, he's in a good spot. Like, this is the best spot of his career. a team that's going to pass. He's got CeeDee Lamb on the other side that's going to draw so much attention. He's going to get open deep. Yeah, Pickens could explode this year. So that would be ideally if you can get him. If you do go running back heavy and you can get a George Pickens on your team, that would be ideal.
Yeah, I like both of these guys. Devontae Adams proved last season that he is anything but washed, and I know that was with BFF Aaron Rodgers, but in that stretch, it just went really well. Only Jamar Chase and Brian Thomas scored more fantasy points than Adams during the final 6 weeks of 2024. So he's still got it left in the tank. And I've talked about just this overall offense with the Rams in general and how good they are for fantasy football. Rams wide receivers as a whole, they rank second in both receptions and receiving yards since McVay and Stafford got together in 2021. So I think this is a fantasy friendly offense. We do have to watch out for the Matthew Stafford back injury. Right now, Adam, I'm not worried. I scooped him up in a super flex draft a couple days ago because he was just falling and it was going a little bit too far. And I said, you know what, I'll take him, make sure I get my third quarterback in those super flex leagues just in case Matthew Stafford does miss time. But as of right now, we haven't heard anything like that. And I agree with you on George Pickens as well. It's going to be fun. I think George Pickens is going to be one of those players that just fully benefits from a change of scenery. Getting out of Pittsburgh it was important to him and probably important to his game. So I like the fit there. And like you said, I mean, that's why we've seen probably Dak Prescott rise a little bit, and it's going to be a good season. So I like it. Just make sure, Alex, and for anyone going heavy running back, 2 running backs in the first 2 rounds, you need to really prioritize. Don't get enamored with the elite tight ends there. Go get your wide receivers, because there is, Adam, what we've talked about, a clear drop off in talent. And it's probably right after you go and get Devontae Adams and George Pickens, because then you're in the range of, and we don't necessarily hate them, but you get into the Zay Flowers, Chris Olave, Jawan Jennings, Jerry Jeudy range. Not to say that those guys aren't good, but you probably don't want to be relying on them as your wide receiver 2 on your teams.
Yeah, it's just we get into an area with a lot of question marks. So, and we all know the receivers that command the top targets, they go early. Just go look back at the top receivers in fantasy points per game last year. You're going to see most of them were taken early in drafts. So that's why you see in a lot of these leagues so many receivers go early, and there's more depth at running back. There's more opportunity also with injuries for running backs to step into bigger roles. So I think that's why it is important, especially if you play in a league where you start 3 receivers, to get those receivers early.
Yeah, three receivers I almost always recommend. Like I don't usually go running back there. I'll go
It's
anchor running back.
to do that. Yeah.
I know. I'll go anchor running back and then take 3, honestly 3. I'll go 3 receivers from the second, third, and fourth round. If we're talking about starting 3 wide receivers, when it's only 2, it's different.
Yeah, and there are leagues out there. I'm pretty sure, like me, every league I play in starts 3 receivers. Everyone.
Same.
Yeah. So, but we know there are people out there that are in leagues with just 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. So it's a little bit different in that format. That's why it's important to know what your starting lineup is. It does change the strategy.
Absolutely. Again, appreciate you calling in, Alex. Good luck in that draft. 888-963-2682. We're going to continue taking your phone calls. We are continuing through those team previews as well. Have to talk about those Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to do that here coming up next. We are talking through the Steelers team preview right here, Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you on this Thursday. You're almost there. It's almost the weekend, but we've got football tonight, Adam. So really, everything's good.
For sure, it is back. I mean, look, it's not. We're not going to see a lot of significant players. Although, hey, we are going to see some of these Chargers rookies, including Omarion Hampton. How long? I don't know, but I think we're just excited to have football back on a Thursday night, because Thursday night, what do we think of? Football when it's Thursday night. So,
I'm so excited.
Chargers Lions tonight, and now we get started, and we'll have more football next Thursday. 3 more games next Thursday.
Nice. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait. It's here. You've made it. Congratulations. We're getting you ready for drafts, though, and it's time to definitely focus in on your drafts so you can get those championships in 2025. Starting, and let's go into the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the big thing, because we've talked a lot about the receiving core and what some expectations could be, and we're going to talk here about Aaron Rodgers. But I do want to finish up our conversation with Kaleb Johnson. Jaylen Warren in the backfield backfield. I think, the question originally is who racks up bigger numbers between Warren and Kaleb Johnson. I think obviously when you're looking at drafts, Kaleb Johnson is the more expensive running back to go and get. You are without Najee Harris, which for maybe not that long, but for a little while you thought, okay, Jaylen Warren could get some good use in this backfield. But what are your expectations for rookie Kaleb Johnson? We said between Travion Henderson, RJ Harvey, at least for me, he's my least drafted in that range. Those are kind of the big guys going in those rounds. And then, of course, Amari and Hampton, Ashton, Jeanty going way earlier than these guys. But what are your expectations for Johnson?
Yeah, he's below those other rookies for me as well. He's basically the Najee Harris replacement. I think he'll be that grinder between the tackles, probably get a good amount of goal line carries. We've seen Warren more of the pass catching back. So, yeah, that's how I look at it for him. I think he's going to get a lot of touches between the tackles.
Okay, which isn't bad. I mean, you kind of want to chase that a little bit.
They're going to run the football too.
They're going to run the football a lot.
Run. But yeah, he'll be a goal line back. I think he's a good fit in this zone running scheme. Doesn't have great speed, but he's a powerful back.
I still like taking I've taken Kaleb Johnson just because I want a little bit of both of this backfield, but I still like taking Jaylen Warren. Are you out on him completely? Because I look at Jaylen Warren and I still say to myself, okay, he's going to get the targets. I mean, we're projecting him for between, I believe, if I remember, 50, 55 targets and then 40, 41 and a half receptions. So the split between them, obviously you get a little bit more rush attempts to Kaleb Johnson, a little bit, a few more through the air for Jaylen Warren. I still like taking Jaylen Warren at the price that he's going.
Yeah, I'm not avoiding him. You were hoping that you would see him in a bigger role. And then once they drafted Johnson, you're like, no, because I think a lot of people have been waiting for Warren to kind of get that opportunity, and it just hasn't arrived. And the Steelers probably feel this is the best way to utilize him in a limited capacity, and that's the problem. So as long as Kaleb Johnson's healthy, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to start Warren. That's the problem.
Yeah. I'm just still thinking that what if situation? What if he does
2 years ago when he had 61 catches?
Yeah,
Want to bring that back?
I'm still on that. But again, the backfield split, I mean, they're really projected for very close to the fantasy point totals. 151 projected fantasy points for Kaleb Johnson. Again, still just projections, but projected 149 for Jaylen Warren over there. Expectations for Aaron Rodgers? You think that, it might be the farewell tour, so he's going to give it all he can for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. We look at it and we've talked about DK Metcalf, I've said before, DK Metcalf in this offense, I do like, he's going to be the focal point. So he does, I think, have a chance to really outperform the ADP that he's going at right now, especially, again, it's going to be different in drafts, but he's going in the end of the fourth round over there on Underdog. But, Aaron Rodgers, we're not drafting him necessarily, especially in single quarterback leagues, but what are your expectations?
Yeah, for fantasy, they're just not high. I'm not even looking at him in a super flex league. If I were to take him, it would be my third quarterback where I don't have to count on him. He did have decent fantasy numbers to close out the season, but there's just too many other quarterbacks that are in better spots. So, yeah, and not a lot of weapons here, so not interested.
All right. That's a nice way to put it, though. At least you were nice about it. Just saying, don't.
Yeah, it could have been more harsh.
It could have been worse, but yeah, he's not someone, like I said, we talked about, I'm in this draft, this super flex draft right now, and I'm getting sniped left and right, but at no point, Adam, did I look around and say, you know what, at least Aaron Rodgers is there for my fallback. There's better options out there. I'll say that if you're in a tight spot in super flex formats and you miss out on your quarterbacks, then Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, there's plenty of other guys I'd rather take the chance on at that point.
Does this team make the playoffs? We've seen this. This is the big question with Tomlin, has been that kind of coach where he is just so good no matter what he has out there. They're at or above 500 and they're making the playoffs. So you think this is the year that doesn't happen?
They probably do get in.
I think so too. I can't fade it. I can't fade Tomlin, at least. This team, maybe you could say, all right, they don't have a lot anywhere. But Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that. I do think they go.
They always find a way to overachieve.
They
Every
do.
year I look at them, I'm like, oh, this team's not that good. And then you sit there and you're like, how did this team win 10, 11 games?
It's
Now, they
mind
don't
blowing
win in
every
the
single.
playoffs, and that's been
No,
the big
no,
knock,
that's
but I
okay.
don't think they've had the roster either.
But we don't think they have the roster this year.
No.
Yeah, so it's gonna be maybe the same thing. I guess I missed out. Jonnu Smith, is he someone that you're? I mean, when we're talking about tight ends, you and I always talk about the tight end landscape, and we say, hey, there's huge drop offs in tiers from the first elite three guys. Then you've got kind of the guys in the middle. You're not walking away with Jonnu Smith probably as your first tight end, maybe second tight end, but you think that he could have some fantasy value in this offense?
I mean, he could. Look, they just don't have a lot at wide receiver. I haven't been drafted him. I hated that he got dealt because if you
I do
remember,
too.
when he was with Miami, he was being drafted like tight end 8, tight end 9. And I was like, oh, okay, good, do that because I am not paying that price coming off a career year. Go ahead, take him off the board. And now with the move to Pittsburgh, he has moved down the board. I mean, that was just an insane outlier season for him last year. So he's not someone that I want. And I was just hoping he would stay with Miami. That would have been
I
fun
know.
because people would have overdrafted him.
You're sick. No, I do agree though. He had 111 targets last season. His
I-
previous best was 70.
Yeah, that was a guy. I know I drafted him in the league last year as my backup tight end, and I cut him.
Well, I
And
mean,
then,
yeah, because who expected that from Jonnu Smith last season? If you did, congratulations. But in my wildest dreams of how good his season could be, 111 targets and 88 receptions was not even close.
yeah, look, the Steelers do use the tight end. We've seen Arthur Smith use the tight ends. You do have Pat Fryermuth there too. That really hurts him. I thought he was going to be a good tight end too for best ball, and then Jonnu comes in and hurt that. So yeah, they're going to cut into each other.
Yeah, I'm not targeting either of these two. Firemouth, it stings because in PPR points per game, you look at it, in 2024 was 9.9, good for tight end 14. 2023 wasn't very good, 6.4, obviously tight end 28. So cuts into both, like you said. And so I'm not targeting much on this team, but Kaleb Johnson, of course, you're looking at Jaylen Warren and DK Metcalf. We'll see what he can do with his new best friends, Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. So we'll see how it goes.
One thing to keep an eye on in training camp, Kaleb Johnson really struggling in pass blocking. So you tend to see that with rookies, but it's something
Yeah.
that's been talked about.
Absolutely. Let's go through risers and fallers. Just want to go through more consensus ADPs, guys that are climbing up draft boards. Should we be looking at them and taking them at that price? Guys that are falling as well. We're going to do that here coming up next. There's your music, Adam. It's not mine.
No.
What?
This was your request.
That's not true. Kenneth Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you right here. Fantasy Life on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Make sure you keep it locked right here. Noon Eastern, you've got RotoWire Fantasy Sports today with Jeff Erickson and Nick Whalen coming up next. Just looking through just some news that we've gotten today just to make sure we're caught up and everything. Not good. Maybe it's because we did a whole segment where I said, yeah, I love drafting Marshawn Lloyd, because he is the RB2, and if Josh Jacobs were to go down, then Marshawn Lloyd would have a good workload. But it looks like Matt LaFleur said he doesn't anticipate Marshawn Lloyd, who is went down with a groin injury, returning to practice this week.
Yeah, he's a frustrating player. We obviously dealt with the injuries last year, and we already have an issue because I agree with you. To me, he was one of those late round guys that I was putting on the bench in case something happened to Josh Jacobs, or they decided to limit the workload of Jacobs and get Lloyd more involved in the offense. And yeah, he had a hamstring strain last year, an ankle sprain, appendicitis after that. So, some bad luck there, but already dealing with something because there's an opportunity for him to be number 2 on that depth chart behind Jacobs. So, yeah, frustrating because I have drafted him in a couple leagues already as well.
Yeah, I have too. Missing more practice isn't going to do him any favors. You've got Emmanuel Wilson over there. You've got Chris Brooks for the RB2 spot in Green Bay. So he was, like I said, he was one of those late dart throws. Not necessarily someone you're targeting, but someone that did have a chance to potentially climb up your draft boards. It looks like Malik Neighbors is good to go with his shoulder. So he is practicing today. And like you said, Braylon Allen, I already see a quote here from the Athletic, Zach Rosenblatt, saying that Braylon Allen is one of the stars of camp so far.
Yeah, the hype is building. We see this throughout training camp. There's always these players that just rise up, and sometimes it never pans out because he was getting hyped last year. It didn't work. It is a different coaching staff. Sometimes, too, getting that full year in the league, taking care of your body, knowing the little details helps players.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're so used to rookies coming in and playing well, but there's others that it's an adjustment period from off the field, on the field, just learning all the intricacies of being in the NFL. But, yeah, we're hearing he's been one of the stars at training camp. And it's not saying Breece Hall's been terrible. It's just they're saying, well, we might need to get Braylon Allen more involved.
Yeah, it's making me. I mean, the funny part is that I was still drafting Braylon Allen at this point, Adam, but it wasn't for the reasons that it looks like could happen in these next couple of weeks. I was drafting Braylon Allen as a handcuff. If Breece Hall went down, then he would obviously step into this workload. But now, if you're looking at Braylon Allen, you're saying, well, maybe he does have standalone value. Again, we try not to overreact, but it is important. I said the quote that they said later in March, and they said, oh, maybe we're going to get all these running backs involved. Now we're hearing these reports with Braylon Allen. You just got to be careful. Don't overreact, but yeah, don't overreact.
Yeah, and look, he is cheap in some platforms too, so
for sure.
Probably rise.
Yeah, probably. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us today. Happy Thursday. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day. Again, make sure you go to fantasylife.com. Use that promo code SXM20. Gets you 20% off any tier 1 or tier 2 subscription. We'll see you same time here tomorrow.